Hello again, Chichon here. Welcome back to my channel. We shall continue this time with our series on ancient Greek. And okay, we already had our introduction. Now it is time to get serious and learn the Greek alphabet. Now, many people, get scared when learning ancient Greek because, okay, they say, well, these letters, they're very different from the ones I'm used to. So, no, this language is too difficult for me. I'd rather not. I'd rather pass. So, of course, in order to read and translate this language, you need to know these letters. And, of course, they are different from the Roman ones. They were the ones we use in English, Spanish, or any other Western language. So, well, you need to learn this, but trust me, these letters are not as difficult to learn as they may seem. So, that being said, I want to give you some pro tips, let's say. So the first pro tip I would like you to do in this case is to write down the letters you will learn in this video. Write them down. I don't know, write 10 times each or 20 times each if you have the energy. Because in that way, of course, you'll get used to write the letters, but also you will familiarize your brain with these new shapes and new sounds even. The more senses you integrate to your language learning process, the better you will learn it, and the faster you will. So that's the first pro tip. Write down the letters. Repeat everything. So the second pro tip I want to give you is to read aloud ancient Greek texts. You may have some, I don't know, but if you don't worry, they are easily accessible, just one Google search away. So you may wonder, well, I will not understand anything. It doesn't matter. That's the key. It doesn't matter whether you understand what you're reading or not. Just read. Try to pronounce. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself too harshly with this. No, just read. Let the Greek get into you. Like, let the Greek enter your brain somehow. Like, and trust me, this process will help you quite a lot in developing your own fluency and comfort with this language. And also in this video, you will find some basic notions of the Greek pronunciation. But in a later video, we will go deeply on this topic. So, well, without further ado, let's go. So, well, the Greek alphabet. It consists of 24 letters. And I will show you now, well, first the letter, how it's written in ancient Greek, then its name, followed by the equivalent of this letter in our alphabet. And finally, an example of a word that starts with this letter. So the first letter we're going to learn is alpha. Alpha. So it's just an equivalent to our A. Sounding like that. Alpha. And as an example, we have the word anthropos. Anthropos, which means man, but in the sense of human being. We saw this word in the introduction of this series, at the beginning of the quote of Aristotle, if you remember. So, okay, anthropos, alpha. Now, the second is beta. Beta. And it's equivalent to our B. In terms of pronunciation, in ancient Greek, we don't make much of a difference between B and B, as is the case in English, French, and other languages which are more, perceptive, let's say, with these sounds. As an example, you have the word barbaros, which means barbarous or barbarian even, and in the ancient Greek context, that meant just a non-Greek, someone who's not Greek. And after the Persian War, it took a pejorative meaning. So saying that someone was a barbaros was the same as saying that he was uneducated. Not something nice to say to anyone. Well, next one is the letter gamma. Gamma. It is equivalent to our letter G, but G as in game, for instance, not as in general, for instance. No. Game. G. Gamma. As an example, you have the word gamos. Gamos, which means marriage. It could also be used to describe a wedding even, but normally it's marriage. Gamos. Next, we have delta. Delta. Delta is equivalent to our letter D. And as an example, you have the word didaskalos. Didaskalos. The word didaskalos means a teacher, someone who instructs other people. Well, next we have the fifth letter of the Greek alphabet, Epsilon. Epsilon. It is equivalent to our letter E, as in net. Epsilon. As an example, you can think of the word ego. Ego. Ego means I, the first person singular in Greek. Ego. Next, we have the letter Zeta. Zeta. Z. Z. Mark that sound. Z. It's like the combination of an S and a D. And in English, you have that sound slightly in the word wisdom. Wisdom. You don't say wisdom. You rather go through the two consonants there and you say wisdom. Wisdom. And as an example, you have the word Zoe. Zoe. The name Zoe comes from this word and means life in a deeper sense. It's not just a biological life, but the life you experience and you live, you actually live. Next, we have the letter Eta. Eta. Eta is also an E, but longer. So you will notice that in ancient Greek, you have vowels that have shorter and longer versions, we can say. And that will mark certain differences in subtle things that we will cover in future videos. Now, as an equivalent, we will still write this one as an E, but it sounds closer to the AI in English you have in the word fairy. A fairy, like a magic fairy. So you can sense, you can perceive this sound in a longer fashion, let's say, in English as well. As an example, we have the word helios. Helios. Helios means the sun. That's the Greek word for sun. Now, next we have the letter theta. Theta. You have this sound that is fairly present in English in words such as thing. So we will write this one as a TH. Thing. Theta. A word that displays this letter is thanatos. 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 Thanatos means death in ancient Greek. Well, next letter. We have the letter Iota. 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 Equivalent and to our letter I, but as in pink. E. This is the sound. E. Iota. A word that starts with this letter is Ithake. Ithake in ancient Greek, which is Ithaca. Ithaca, the home of Odysseus or Ulysses. Next, we have the letter Kappa. 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 Kappa, fairly equivalent to the English letter K. And a word that starts with this letter is kinesis. Kinesis. Kinesis means movement or motion, movement. And the word, for instance, cinematics, cinema, comes from this word in particular, because things moving, you know. Next, we have the letter lambda. Lambda. Lambda, equivalent to our letter L. A word that starts with this letter is lithos. 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 Lithos means stone, just a stone. Next, we have the letter mu. Mu. Fairly equivalent as well to our letter M. And as an example, we have the word mathematikos. Mathematikos, which means something mathematic, but also can mean a mathematician. This is the origin of the word mathematics. Our next letter now is nu. Nu. Fairly equivalent as well to our letter N. And as an example, we have the word Nike. Nike, which means victory, literally. Was also the goddess of victory. Has the same name. And there's a famous brand which has exactly the same name. And I think you may know it. Then we have the letter Xi. 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 Equivalent in English to our X, as in the word axe. An example is the word xylon. Xylon. Xylon means wood, a piece of wood that you may put on a fire. Next, we have the letter Omicron. Omicron. Omicron literally means little o, in contrast to omega that we will see later. Omicron is the letter O as in dot, for instance. O. Omicron. An example is, for instance, the adjective oligos. Oligos in ancient Greek, when talking about quantities, it means not too many, or just a few of them. Next, we have the letter P. 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 The famous letter pi, as you pronounce it in English, equivalent to our letter P as well. And as an example, we have the word Bais. Bais. Bais means a boy. A boy. It could also mean slave in certain contexts, but yes, it's a boy, a young fellow. Next, we have the letter Rho. Rho. Fairly equivalent to the letter R in English. An example of this is the word rhapsoidia. Rhapsoidia, which means a recitation of epic poetry. The word rhapsody in English, as in the song Bohemian Rhapsody, comes from this word actually. Next, we have the letter sigma. Sigma. Fairly present in mathematics actually. Sigma equivalent to our letter S. An example of this letter is the word Sophia. Sophia, which means wisdom, as in philosophia, love for wisdom. And it's a fun fact, the name Sophie comes from this word. Next, we have the letter Tau. Tau. Tau, which is equivalent to the letter T. An example is, I would say, a fairly technical term in Aristotle, as you will discover. The word telos. Telos, which means an end, something final. And used as an adverb, the word telos can mean even finally. Now, I want you to pay special attention to the next letter. This letter is Upsilon. Upsilon. Now, the sound U is not very natural. If you are a native English speaker or native Spanish speaker, the sound U may not come to you quite comfortably, you can say. So, unlike French or German languages that do have these sound, for instance, French has the sound U when they write the letter U, as in Musik, for instance, U. Or German in the word Übermensch, just to mention a famous philosophical term. In German is the U with an umlaut, so U. Now in English we don't have this. So how can I pronounce this sound, you may wonder? Well, I will give you a pro tip. And this tip is to put your mouth as if you were to make the sound U. U as in ku, for instance. U. U. So check out my mouth. U. U. You will put your mouth like that, but you will not say U. Instead of U, you will say E. E. But with your mouth like this. So you put your mouth like this, and now you say E. U. U. That's a pro tip. An example of this letter is the word hypothesis. Hypothesis. Hypothesis, which means an assumption, and because of this, hypothesis, as you are already realizing. And now we have reached the last 4 letters of the Greek alphabet. Next in our list is Phi. Phi. Phi, which will be rendered by us with a P and H. And an example is philia. Philia, which means friendship. Friendship or friendly love and affection of this kind, as opposed to the erotic love, which in Greek has a separate word for to convey this meaning. Now, next we have the letter He. Sorry, He. He that we will render it as K and H in our alphabet. You can find it sometimes as a C and H, but I want to avoid the confusion of pronunciation, so we will keep it as KH. An example is Christos. Christos. It sounds Ch, as in school. Ch, Christos. So Christos means anointed, as an adjective. And this is the origin of the word Christ, actually. Christ is the anointed one. Next, the letter Psi. Psi, as in psychology, that's the sound. We will render it with a P and an S. An example is psyche. Psyche, which means soul. Originally meant breath as well, like the living breath that makes you, the thing that makes you, stay alive. And from there it became soul, that which animates living things. And last but not least, we have the letter omega. Omega, which we will render as an O as well, but this is a long O. We had Omicron, now we have Omega. Omicron, Omega, both as an O, but this is the longer version. An example is the adjective ochros. Ochros, which means pale. Pale, someone to describe someone very, very white. You can find a lot this word in Aristotle, actually. And Socrates had a reputation for being very, very pale, and this is the word that would be preferred to describe him. Well, this is the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching it. Now, I hope you learned a thing or two about the Greek alphabet. And in the next video, we will be covering some pronunciation subtleties that I didn't mention in this video, because in Greek it is not the same to have, for instance, a vowel in isolation or a vowel in combination with another vowel. Sometimes the sound may suffer some modifications, so we will cover that in the next video. And also we will discuss the general rules to read ancient Greek effectively. So, well, I hope to see you then. Until next time, thank you.